All right, this is July 6th. I didn't post any episodes last week. So here I am, July 6th. And this is the actual review of letters 11 through 20. So inmate letters review 11 through 20. And these are the questions that I got from, one of the AIs after I upload all the pictures and digital copies of the letters, and then let the AI kind of pull out the similarities, the differences. And it's kind of cool to see what it comes up with. So it says the biggest themes across letters 11 through 20. Number one, every writer recognized themselves in the story. Everyone. Now it's a small subsample of only 10 letters, but they also tie that into the first 20 letters as a bigger whole. So the biggest theme through all of them is that every one of those inmates in those 20 letters so far, almost no one wrote great speech. Instead, they wrote, "That was me." That's why I'm so successful at what I do. Because what I went through, every person has gone through in some sense, form, or fashion. Yes, mine ended in a catastrophic drunk driving accident where somebody died. But the alcohol, the drugs, the depression, the mental health, the suicide attempts, the overdose attempts, all that stuff are things that these men have gone through. So what's that say? That the world is struggling. Now, I'm happy and frustrated at the same time. Is that I started speaking about mental health in 2014, 2015. And people looked at me bizarre. Because, again, mental health was stigmatized. And you weren't supposed to talk about depression or suicide or any of those things. Now, all of a sudden, after the pandemic and, billions of people experienced mental health issues after and during the pandemic. And now there's 60 million Americans dealing with the co-occurrence of mental health and alcohol and substance abuse. 60 million. Everybody's talking about it. And everyone's a professional now. And that's fine. But it just goes to show that all the people who were scared to talk about this finally have a voice. And that's cool, and I'm glad everybody's talking about it. But where were you when this was going on before it was popular? Before people thought they could make money off of it? What were you doing? Probably sitting in your room panicking and freaking out and biting on your fingernails. "Oh, somebody please stop me." Like, weak. And now you found a voice. And that's cool. I'm glad you found a voice. But where were you 10, 11, 12, 13 years ago talking about this stuff? So you're not one of the people on the front lines. You're one of the people at the back of the line who now jumped in and found a voice. And hoorah to you. I'm glad you found a voice. But the reality is this has been going on for generations. I'm not saying I'm the first one to talk about it. I give credence and kudos to the people who inspired me. I talk about Kevin Love. Kevin Love was talking about mental health after the 2016 NBA Finals. Here's an NBA All-Star talking about depression and having panic attacks. So I use him in my workshops because he was talking about this in 2016. He was one of the first celebrities that I know who was talking about this and didn't care. So if you want to give, kudos to people, make sure you do it, because they're the ones that were paving this way. But anyway, these letters, it's cool to see that these men all see the same choices that I made and how they made. So what's that mean? That means the reality is of my coaching programs, UnDrafted.com, the stuff that I'm trying to help prevent student athletes from going through. Every one of these men that have written me from prison were facing the same choices and decisions that I made. What does that mean? That means the vast majority of the students that I'm trying to help right now in middle school and high school are the same exact students who are going to end up in prison because of the choices and decisions that they make right now. I'm trying to stop them from a life of ending up in prison. But yet nobody wants to talk about these or help their kids out because they think, oh, my kid's just fine. No, your kid's not fine. You have blinders on. And those blinders, 20 years down the road, are going to be nothing but regret for you, because your son or daughter is going to be in prison or somewhere bad because you weren't paying attention to the signs that they were showing the entire time. Because you were too busy on your phone doing your doom scrolling, thinking that you're going through something, and then your kids are falling apart at the seams. So none of these letters, they talked about hope, not motivation, but hope that came from credibility, because I've been through it. Wasn't somebody who just read a book. You're not one of those people who just reads about prison. The 5 keys keep on appearing. Several writers mention the 5 keys and they list them out. Almost every inmate talked about the purpose, not freedom, but purpose that I talk about. I believe my entire purpose on this life, or on this planet now after the accident, is to speak. It's not basketball, it's not friends, it's not family, it's not businesses, it's not none of that stuff. I truly believe the only reason I'm still alive is to speak and help people. That's it. So when my purpose is gone, I don't care about anything else. I have a purpose. Very few said I can't wait to get out. Instead, they said, I want to coach baseball, finish school, get welding certificate, prove people wrong, start over, become someone different. Freedom wasn't the goal. Purpose was. So not only am I giving these individuals hope, I'm giving them hope for a purpose that they can do something to solidify the rest of their lives. Because if you don't have purpose, you don't have anything. And I'm sorry, but I lost an investor who doesn't believe in my mission and my cause. And I want to throw it in his face because he has no purpose. And he told me that. And that sucks for you. Because when your kids graduate and you got nothing left, you have zero purpose. Who you are as a person is nothing. I gave you an opportunity to be a part of something bigger than yourself, but you don't believe in it. So that's fine. But understand, I have a purpose and you don't. So what are you going to do for the next 30 years of your life? Because it's going to suck. It's going to suck. And I gave you an opportunity to help build something, to be a part of something. And the way you treated me, the way you talked about me, believe me, I've got that sitting inside. I remember the day that you invited me to speak to your son's team and they didn't pay me. So what did you do? You wrote a check for $500 when the day before I got paid almost $5,000 for doing the same thing. I see what you value my purpose as. So I'm glad you didn't give me your money, because your purpose doesn't match my purpose. You're a nobody. And that sucks. That's gotta fucking suck. The only thing that you have for me was money. I feel bad for you, dude. I feel bad for you. The biggest difference is the younger inmates focused on future, school, sports, careers. They still think in decades. The older inmates focused on regret, legacy, making peace, helping others and finally changing. That's an interesting find. Some letters centered on addiction, what nobody talks about. This is when I think your podcast becomes something different. These are conversations I rarely hear. Is prison harder or is freedom? Inside a prison, oh yeah, prison was easier than what it is outside. It sucks because you're locked up and you're confined. But you have routine and you have rules and you have things that you can latch onto. Like every single day, I was up before the cells would open and I'm reading and writing my Bible or writing rhymes, and I got into a rhythm and routine, and that helped me. But when you get out, you don't have any of that, and that's dangerous. And then it says, is hope dangerous? Actually, I believe hope is dangerous at times. Now, what I do think is destroyed a big piece of my life is expectations. You see, in sports, I always had expectations. You want to win X amount of games or have X amount of points per game and assists and rebounds. My expectation was to always win championships. That was my biggest goal. I never won a state championship. I never won a national tournament in college, but that was my goal every year. The points and assists, like, I mean, I cared about it, but I didn't really care about it. Like, it's cool that I averaged 21 a game against Division I and ranked teams. And I averaged 13 against podunk teams. The only reason I care about that is to show you the difference. Like, I could care less about those low-level teams. I wanted to win. And so I sacrificed my game where instead of trying to score 30 points a night, those teams that I knew we could beat, I had more assists. I was getting other people involved because that way they could eat. They could get their points. They could get their assists up. So I took a back seat because my only goal was the expectation was to win. And why I say that is because my marriage fell apart because of expectations. My speaking career fell apart because of expectations. When I started and I met individuals, I had expectations of what my career was supposed to be. And when I didn't meet those expectations, everything fell apart. Because I expected to do something, achieve something. I had goals and ambition. And when I failed, not only once or twice, but every single year for a decade, it destroyed me. My expectations of what I was and what I wanted to be disappeared. I still have those same goals, but my expectations destroyed my life. So hope can be dangerous. Why do some people sabotage themselves? Does guilt become an identity? Yes. Can prison become someone's comfort zone? Yes. Like, I've said it multiple times. I said it to my wife. Like, during the pandemic, I had more fun in prison. These last couple of years, I had more fun in prison than what I've experienced. And that sucks. That sucks. And when you tell your wife that, yeah. Ex-wife. So here's some more questions. Questions to review. Looking back, what surprised me the most? Which letter stayed with me? Which sentence hit me the hardest? What themes keep repeating? About prison, what do inmates actually fear? About society? About yourself? One final observation. After 20 letters, I don't think your podcast is really about prison. It's about decision making and under pressure. That's an interesting find. Prison is a setting, but the subject is identity, accountability, regret, purpose, leadership, recovery. You see, that's the whole point of why I do what I do. See, everybody sees me as just a speaker that tells a story. They don't understand that my entire speech is crafted intentionally with specific words, topics, ideas, concepts to plant seeds into individuals in my audience. Some of it is just storytelling, but the vast majority of my speech has been practiced with fine-tooth comb of where I'm intentionally trying to stimulate my audience based off of how I present a slide, how I talk about something. So again, I always say you get 1,000 people that see me speak and you're going to get almost 1,000 different answers. Yes, you're going to get a funnel or a bucket of commonalities. But when you take those commonalities out, you start to branch it in, you're going to find 1,000 different answers, because everything I talk about has some way to tie in to how somebody else lives. Family, friends, academics, grades, choices, decisions, drugs, alcohol, depression, suicide, all of that stuff is wrapped in sports, education, athletics, leadership. There are 1,000 different things in my speech. Most speakers can't say that. Their entire speech is about leadership, and they read a bunch of leadership books and they put a bunch of leadership quotes up there, and their entire speech is about leadership. Cool. My entire speech is about leadership and skills and academics and sports and perseverance and resiliency and redemption and all these things that you can pull out of my story. I'm not some cookie cutter speaker. I'm not some cookie cutter, what I offer is real. I am a upper middle class white suburban kid that grew up on a farm in the country with animals. Not a big farm, but a small farm. Ducks, chickens, pigs, cats, dogs. We had wolves, peacocks, turkeys, pot-bellied pigs, cows, like hamsters and rabbits and all kinds of stuff. And yet I wear a backwards hat, and my entire life is about hip-hop and basketball. I've got friends who are brain surgeons and cops and people who work in the legal system. And then I've got presidents of universities and athletic directors, business owners. And then I've got friends who are violent inmates who are locked up 20 years, 30 years. Gangbangers, non-gangbangers, dudes who rob and steal, and I get along with everybody, and it's about respect and finding something that you can commonality, and I have that with everybody, and that's what it shows in these letters and these podcasts. Is all these inmates, they see something in me, that it was them. I'm sorry, but Tony Robbins gets up on stage and he goes and speaks to these inmates. They're not going to see him. They're not going to say, oh, I see my story in him. No. And it just sucks because I know what I do. And yet all these other speakers out there, because they know how to put lipstick on a pig, they get booked in front of me. Because they know how to market and advertise better than I do. I hate selling. I think it's slimy. I think salespeople are slimy. They're like car salesmen. I can't stand them. Can't stand most speakers. Yes, there's 10 to 15, maybe even 20% that are legitimate. The rest are all slimy fucking cheeseball, dick-faced, cocksucking motherfuckers who are trying to take advantage of an industry that makes good money. If you're good at being a speaker and marketing, you can make some money. More than professional athletes if you're really good at it. So when I went to conferences with regular speakers, I want nothing to do with them. Because I see right through them and who they are and what they're trying to do, and the entire reason they're doing that job is because of money. I don't do this because of money. If I did, I would have quit the first year or so that I was doing this. So I don't know, man. This undrafted vault behind lock and key conversation, and I've only done 20 letters. Imagine what, like, that's kind of funny. 2020. I got 290 more letters to go. See if I make it.